Good morning, everybody. Wow, this is a great audience. Welcome. This is the 59th HR Network Breakfast. So make sure that you get your cards punched, because every 60th breakfast is free. So I'm Darren Kimball. I'm the head of business development at the 5 O'Clock Club. And again, welcome. We're delighted that you're here. We have a really fantastic program for you today. Before we get started with the program, I just wanted to make a few brief remarks about the 5 O'Clock Club. We are a very different kind of outplacement company, and that really starts with our philosophy. We simply don't believe that someone who's been impacted by a reduction in force should be getting fired by their career coach just as their job search is really starting to ramp up. And that's why all of the packages that we offer are a minimum of 1 year. And there's no question that we have a track record of helping people to get better jobs faster, but there's no cherry picking involved in the assignments that we take, and some of them are quite challenging. And if you wind up with a transition that is more difficult, we're going to be there for you, even in the most difficult situations. We're also not saddled with legacy, cubicle farms, if you will. Your company's funding goes directly to the place where it makes the biggest difference. And that, in our minds, is putting an outstanding coach in the job hunter's corner for the maximum amount of time. No one is fighting for time or attention at the 5 O'Clock Club. Our business model is not like a gym where we sign them up and then hope that they don't actually come to exercise. And I shouldn't leave this slide without mentioning that underpinning all of this is our methodology, which is widely acclaimed and has been perfected over the last quarter of a century by the company's founder, Kate Wendelton. And if I had even more time, I'd be talking about how amazing our small group strategy sessions are and how they work hand in glove with the private coaching to get better results. But perhaps you'll have an opportunity to come and observe one of these sessions. So on the next slide, I just wanted to show our mission statement. So we are not a monolithic organization. We have a high-touch business model. And helping people is the business that we're in. We're very proud of our record of success in this regard. We're also very proud to have been chosen as a partner by well over 100 companies in just the past year. Our corporate partners understand that being a best place to work also means being a place that treats terminated employees fairly. And when the business cycle dictates a reduction in force, our corporate clients know that their money will be spent wisely and productively at the 5 O'Clock Club. So thank you very much, and now I'd like to introduce the founder and president, Kate Wendelton.
That was terrific. That was great. That was just great. Listen, it's good to see so many familiar faces here, and certainly we want more people to know about the 5 O'Clock Club. For 19 years, I was a coach at the club, in addition to running the club, but I loved the coaching in the small groups. And the highlight of the small group coaching for me was when we had a successful job hunter report. And that was always the highlight, and especially I'd like to hear reports from those who had long searches and stuck it out. They had long searches, and perhaps they were doing consulting work, or perhaps they were employed and searching for their next assignment. but they stuck it out. And so we have here today one of those people, and she has one of those stories. She attended only 11 weekly small group strategy sessions over the course of a full year while she was doing consulting work. And she has agreed to come here today to tell you her story just as she would at the club, so let's give a round of applause for. As you can see, Kath got her job by answering an ad, and that's all she did. Anyway, you can see everything that goes into it, all the 5 o'clock club methodology. I want to mention that Kath was a retail client. That is, she paid on her own. We go through an awful lot of work to get retail clients in, people like Kath. Why do we do that? Because it creates a healthy environment. You really don't want to have a room full of unemployed, displaced, outplaced people who are there against their will. It is depressing. And so when you have people like Kath who are doing consulting work or working full-time, who are coming in on their own, it adds a certain energy and makes people move along, and it's higher spirits. So we work hard about that, and so I just wanted to let you know that. We also like to hear from the coach's point of view. Let's hear from Anita Attridge. Anita is one of our branch heads. She was also Kath's small group counselor. Anita is also SVP of the 5 o'clock Club's organizational development programs, including executive coaching and all of that sort of thing. So let's just hear from Anita's point of view. Yay, Anita.
Thank you. You just heard a great story from Kath. She is an excellent example of what's possible. She was in a declining industry and had honed her skills for that particular industry. She accepted the realities of where her career really was and what it would look like, and focused her attention on how she could use her skills differently in the marketplace to reinvent herself. It was obvious what she was doing and the amount of work that she put into her search, in that she did a multitude of networking meetings, initiating them, following up with them. She did pro bono work to learn about new organizations, and she took consulting assignments. In that way, being able to increase her skills, at the same time increase her networks. Throughout the process, Kath maintained a very positive can-do attitude. Most of the time. But like anyone else, when she did become discouraged, she just moved right through it and continued on. She did attend the small group meetings and was always a great contributor there as well. With her understanding of how her skills would transfer to another position, she was able to very impressively talk about her skills for the position, even finding a new position that allowed her to use her skills to her total ability. So congratulations.
Okay, moving right along. Today is special for another reason, in addition to hearing from Kath and Anita. Each year, the HR Network presents the Human Resources Hero of the Year Award. And this is given to a person or organization that has shown outstanding dignity and decency to employees. We have worked with John Wiley & Sons since 2006, and we have seen up close and personal how they treat their employees. Their motto is, where colleagues are people first and professionals second. You will find a summary of their approach in our directory, and you should read it. I mean, maybe it's what you already do, but I'm telling you, I got some inspiration from it, and you might as well. Their employees are not just human capital, they're people. In addition to promoting a healthy work-life balance and other programs, the organizations and its employees are heavily involved in the community. This includes their very popular Read Aloud program, where employees read to children, including children in special ed programs. We have with us today MJ O'Leary, their SVP of Global Human Resources, who will accept this award on behalf of Wiley. And MJ, I have to say, epitomizes the values that John Wiley embraces. She not only participates in the Read Aloud program herself, she is also on the board of Roots and Wings. This organization supports young people who have aged out of foster care in New Jersey. And And I have to say that personally, this is the kind of organization that is very dear to my heart, which is not why they won the award, because it's the kind of volunteer work I do as well. We are proud to award this year's Human Resources Hero of the Year Award to John Wiley & Sons, with MJ O'Leary accepting the award on their behalf. And now let's give them a round of applause. Yay! Here's your word. Want to say a few words?
Thank you, Kate. It's a real honor to accept this award on behalf of Wiley, and my sincere thanks to Kate Wendelton and the 5 O'Clock Club for this recognition. I am very fortunate to work with an incredibly talented and accomplished group of professionals, and it's so rewarding to be able to support colleagues in their career path. And that's the easy part. The toughest thing we do, and we've honestly had to do quite a bit of it lately, is to end an employee's, colleague's employment with us for a variety of different reasons. And that's really difficult work, but we always approach it in the spirit of treating colleagues with fairness and dignity and respect, so that as they transition to the new phase, the next phase of their journey, you know, they have dignity, they do it with dignity, and maintain their self-respect and maintain some level of confidence to go out and find, you know, the next part of their career path. And I'm very honored to be able to lead an incredibly professional and compassionate group of HR leaders. And I am so pleased and thankful that you've acknowledged that and recognized that with this award.
Yay! Okay, now back to the HR Network. Our January 31st event will cover top legal issues that are of interest to HR. These could include, for example, immigration. Who knows what's going to be happening between now and then? Arbitration versus litigation, and perhaps DOMA. And of course, the impact on you of all of these things. The event is open to all HR professionals. So thank you for coming, and thank you for allowing us to be part of your professional lives. On with the main event. Let's take 2 minutes. You know how they do in a theater. Turn off your cell phones. For the next 45 minutes, please do not text. People have complained that the light from the text bothers them. Please be considerate of your speakers and try, if you can, to leave after the Q&A. Our moderator today is Wynn Sheffield. He is another master coach with the 5 O'Clock Club, and he is a contributor to the 5 O'Clock Club book, Work Smarts, and it's one of the books that accompanies our executive coaching program. That is, when you send us someone for executive coaching, they have this 300 and some page book as a reference book. 22 of our coaches have contributed to that. So, take it away, Wynn.
Thank you, Kate. Welcome. Good to great, engaging employees and driving business forward. You are all here to hear about that, so I will not take a lot of time. The way the program will work going forward is you'll have 15 minutes with each of the presenters, and then there's 15 minutes for you, not only to ask questions, but to share where these things have worked for you. And perhaps you can inspire some of the other people in the audience in the way that our panelists will, I'm sure. So our first speaker will be Ken Finneran, Chief People Officer of the Americas for Hellman Worldwide Logistics, headquartered in Miami. Ken will give you his thoughts on driving the business forward. Ken.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
As was just mentioned, and thank you for that introduction, Wim, my name is Ken Finneran, and I am Chief People Officer for the Americas for Hellman Worldwide Logistics, a global logistics and freight forwarding company headquartered since 1871 in Osnabrück, Germany, now currently one of the largest privately held, family-owned and operated logistics company in the world at around $4 billion in terms of revenues and 19,000 associates worldwide. That's just to set the stage. I believe all of you have the the handouts in your folders. I will be referring to some of those handouts, but let me start by saying it's just such a thrill for me to be here to talk about good to great, the ability through employee engagement of driving the business forward. Now, I believe, and I have shared this with the organizers, that we are at a critical juncture in terms of organizations' ability to drive performance in the future. And I'm also excited about the ability to share my thoughts and strategies with you on how we as HR professionals can do just that. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I will set the stage for what I believe is that critical juncture in determining future organizational success, why talent has emerged as the most critical element in that, in what I call the new era of talent. I will also speak about and discuss successful talent management in this new era, present a new leadership profile, and finish with key steps that we can take as HR professionals now to bring this about and make that happen. As I will do this, I will intentionally challenge some of the long-held misconceptions and myths around employee engagement, but also about HR and the way that we manage talent. So as we move forward, I would like to recognize, us to recognize the characteristics of this new normal, oftentimes referred to as the new VUCA world. Now, how many of you have heard the term VUCA? It's been thrown around a little bit in the past few years. For those of you who have not, it is a term that was actually established in 2001 when the Army War College, not exactly the pinnacle of innovation and thought leadership usually, however, what they did at that time was they invited thought leaders from business, academia, non-NGOs, and politics to come together and debate about what will this new millennium look like, what will characterize the new millennium. And what they came up with was this acronym VUCA, stating that the new world will be, in this new era, will be characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That was in the summer of 2001, and as you all know, and as we just celebrated a few short days ago, just a few months after they came up with this term VUCA, we were quite literally thrust into this new normal as that new normal in VUCA world hit home as the planes flew into the World Trade Center, into the Pentagon, and then into Pennsylvania. Again, this new VUCA world has hit home, and still we are in this VUCA world where the challenges and turbulence of this new era are very prevalent. But what I am here to say is that it will also be those individuals and organizations who are best able to not only recognize and accept these elements of this VUCA world, but who can leverage those through learning agility as well as other key performance outcomes that are going to be the ones who are going to be most successful in this new normal. In fact, another thing that is going to characterize this is that we need, in order to deliver on the performance metrics and performance expectations of the future, to do things significantly differently. Part of my role within our organization is to challenge us to do that, and I will intentionally challenge all of us in this room to think about how we can do this as HR professionals in our own organizations. In order to simply meet the expressed company expectations of the future, so let's say towards 2020, the Corporate Executive Board, for example, estimates that we need year-over-year per employee productivity improvement in the range of 20% per annum. That's not going to be achieved by business as usual. So what needs to change in terms of your processes, management structures, etc., in order to make that happen? I believe that now CEOs are recognizing talent as the key differentiator in this process, and that in this new normal, we will see that talent has emerged. So much so that one HR consulting organization has even said that we have entered a new age, the era of talent or era of talentism. Especially in an era where it is quite easy for organizations to get financial capital. We're moving from that era of capitalism, if you will, to a new age of talentism. to reinforce my conviction regarding talent as the key strategic driver, allow me to share just a few statistics with you. However, before I do that, also allow me to say that I believe that we as HR professionals, or those HR professionals and talent professionals who will be the most successful in the future, will be those who successfully leverage big data and are able to translate this plethora of information that is coming our way to their teams and to the entire business environment to drive strategic business initiatives and therefore be seen as that true strategic business partner, leaving the rest of us who are simply in the back supporting a very important role of our jobs in their wake. The Society for Human Resources Management said that by 2020, as jobs become more complex, the global labor market faces a shortage of 38 to 40 million college-educated workers and another 45 million secondary-educated workers. So let me provoke you a bit by asking, where will you be finding this talent, and how will you be attracting them? This talent and skills shortage also has recently moved to the top of the Lloyd's Risk Index as today's most pressing organizational risk factor. So again, I provoke by asking, how will your talent strategy and philosophy mitigate this risk? A full 1/4 of CEOs have stated that they need to postpone a strategic business opportunity or initiative because of lack of talent or because of talent challenges. So how will your talent challenges actually help with achieve certain new business opportunities or priorities? Now, unfortunately, a lot of the things that are shared in the mass media have led to some misconceptions, and I'm the first to challenge some of those. And one of those misconceptions, I believe, is that there is a global job shortage leading to high unemployment. And with that, that there is this great deal of top talent available in the market. This, however, in my opinion, and I would hope in yours as well, is an absolute myth. And let me point it out this way. How many of you have had a job in your organizations that has been open longer than 6 to 8 weeks? I see nearly every hand going up here, and that is the reality that we deal with. Because there really is no global job shortage, but there is a very, very profound and acute global talent and skills shortage that is thrusting us into this renewed war for talent. Now, I will come back to that talent age in a few moments, but since the overarching topic is about engaging employees to drive business forward, please allow me to overlay some engagement data over the talent data that I just covered. The other panelists are going to go into this in greater depth, but suffice it to say here that the data is extremely compelling, that those companies with higher engagement, higher employee engagement scores, also have higher profitability, higher productivity, higher growth, higher operating margins, and all of that while having, on average, 40% lower employee turnover. But here too, allow me to dispel a myth which is shared and perpetuated in nearly every annual report, analyst call, and press conference, namely that our employees are our company's greatest asset. Now, you may be very surprised to hear a chief people officer for the Americas standing up here saying that our employees aren't our greatest asset, but let me clarify what I mean by that. What I mean by that is at the same time that we hear from, or are talking about driving the business forward here today, we're hearing from Gallup that only 30% of most organizations' employees are actually engaged, which means that a full 70% of your employees are actually not adding strategic value to the company. If we're here to discuss how to drive the business forward, then in short, we definitely need to focus on engagement. Because it is only your engaged and highly engaged employees which are actually adding value to the company, and that are your company's greatest assets, while the others are glaringly apparent liabilities. And I say that very much and very straightly to the extent of several trillions of dollars annually, if we are truly honest. So if we believe these changes, the data, the challenges and turbulence of the new normal, what can we do to maximize our talent management efforts? In the handouts, you have several things listed there, from employer branding, recruitment, onboarding, etc. And I will go even further and a little quicker in the interest of time to talk about the new leadership and how critical leadership is as well. At Hellman, we've chosen to focus on learning agility, being an agent provocateur. And many of my colleagues say that I've embraced that more than most. But nonetheless, we've also focused on the 5 C's of leadership around complex communication, creativity, commitment, collaboration, and character. Some of the things that I believe talent function needs to do now is to look at specific and dedicated talent identification programs, hypo programs, learning and development programs, and put the money where it's going to make the most sense, namely where for your frontline leaders rather than for your senior-most population. We have done these things with great success at Hellman, and I'm happy to speak or answer about some of those first steps if any of you have questions once we enter into the panel discussion questions a little bit later on. So as I pass the baton to my fellow panelists this morning, allow me to summarize just a few key points. The VUCA world and new normal has thrust talent to the forefront as the key differentiator in this new marketplace. There is no global job shortage, but there is a very acute talent and skill shortage. Focus on raising your levels of engagement in your entire employee population, because it's only your engaged and highly engaged employees that are actually driving business value, while the others are true liabilities. Effective talent management in the new normal must take into account an and more business environment, and you'll see some more information on that in your handouts. Focus on talent leadership with learning agility, being an agent provocateur, and the 5 C's of leadership. In closing, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. Hope that I have incited some new thinking around talent, added a bit of new insight, but most importantly, encouraged and engaged you to view talent as that key differentiator in this VUCA world and new era of talent. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions after the other panelists speak.
Thank you, Peter. That was very interesting. What a challenge for us, a new vision of the future. I hope you are already thinking of your questions about how you're going to implement that, and Peter will be, I'm sure, happy to help you.